In today's tutorial, let's learn how to do the cottage throw, another free pattern by yarnspirations.com. Welcome back to Yarnspirations as well as to crochetcrowd.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to learn how to do the cottage throw, and this is a really interestingly quick throw. Now I did this in person because I wasn't really understanding exactly what I was looking at here, and I realized that this is very similar to a corner to corner, but it works within a round circle, and it's not exactly a corner to corner stitch, but is very close to it, has the same properties. Also reminds me of the entrelac in the square. It doesn't have any entrelac properties to this, but it does remind me of that. Today's tutorial, you are going to need a size H, a 5mm crochet hook today, and it's asking for sugar, lily, and cream, but I will tell you right up front, if you have the yarn that matches the hook, this is for any size hook or yarn as long as they complement each other. So without further ado, let's grab our yarn and our crochet hook, and I'll show you how to get through the steps, and you'll be able to see exactly what we're doing, and then you'll be able to carry it on your own in the future. So let's begin. We're going to start off with the slip knot, and we need to chain 8 as per the instructions, and I'm using Bernat Super Value on camera just so that you're aware of the yarn that I'm using. So we are using a 5mm size H crochet hook, and we need to chain 8. So remember, the one already on the hook for the slip knot does not count as one. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8. And once you have your 8, just go into the very starting chain and do a slip stitch and pull the yarn through and through to form the center ring of your entire afghan. Let's move along to round number 1. So we want to put the straggler on top of the chain. Just wrap it so it gets trapped underneath. So let's begin. We're going to chain 1 first, and then we're doing 12 single crochets into the center of this ring. So just go into the center and just do single crochets 12 times. So 1 2 and 3 4 and 5 and 6. Okay, so I'm just gonna stop here. So see how I was trapping it underneath is that it's permanently gonna be under there, so nobody will ever see it. So I was on 6 and 7 8 9 10. And if you're running out of space, just move it. It's all just around the ring, so just shift it down the ring. Okay, 10, and this is 11 and 12. And what we want to do is go to the very first one and just slip our hook through to the very first stitch, okay, and just pull through and through, and then that completes off round number 1. So even though you moved it here, it will balance itself. It'll pull itself back into complete a circle. So let's move along to round number 2. So using the same color, we're going to start on round number 2, and it says slip stitch into the next stitch. So we want to go one more over, so just slip stitch to the next one, pull through and through, and then it says to chain 4. So this counts as a treble. Okay, so 1 2 3 and 4, and for my European friends or UK friends, a treble in our language here in North America means that it's higher than a double crochet. So you wrap the hook 2 times instead of just once. Okay, so here we go. So we just did that, chaining a 4, and then we're going to put 1 treble in each of the next 2 stitches. So we wrap the hook twice. So I always say in my head, wrap and wrap, going into the next stitch, pull through 2 and 2 and 2. That's a treble. Just do it again. We have to do another one. So wrap and wrap, going into the next one, pull through 2 and 2 and 2, just like so. So as per the instructions, we now have to chain 4. So here's the thing, we have to chain 4 to get up to this height, and then we have to chain 4 to get back down to this level. So that's why we're doing that. So 1 2 3 and 4. Okay, so that's what we've just done. So what we want to do is that we want to read back into the instructions and see where we are next. So now that we've chained 4, we come back down into the very next stitch and just do a slip stitch. Okay, and then we begin doing this process once again. So we chain 4 to start. So 1 2 3 and 4, just like so, and then we come down and we treble into the next 2. So 1 into each, so a treble into each one, treble, And then once you have those 2 done, you chain 4 again. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and come back down into the next one and just do a slip stitch. Let's do that again. So you'll have a total of 4 of these by the time you're going all the way around. So let's chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's treble into the next 2. Just like that. Once you have those 2 done, chain 4, 1, 2, 2, 3, and 4, and then slip stitch into the next one. Okay, let's do it again. So we go chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we treble into the next 2. Okay, and now what we just have to do then is that we come back down and we chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and coming back down just go into the very first one like so. So this is where we started, like that. Okay, so what we're going to do at this point is that it says to fasten off. So this color is now done. So let's just, I'm gonna show it only once in this whole tutorial, is that we're just gonna trim our yarn, and I want just to pull through some of these stitches. Now what's gonna happen on this particular whole pattern is that you will notice that the stitches look like they're diagonal, and so this is the very starting stitch. So basically what's gonna happen is that we're gonna start playing within these chain 4 spaces eventually in the future. So without further ado, let's move on to round number 3. Let's move along to round number 3. So round number 3, I want you to start off with a slip knot, and that's how I'm gonna fasten on. And what we need to do is that we need to come back to where we finished off, and we want to go back to, so this is where we finished, so we want to come back up here and just join it to the top of the chain 3. So this is the very last stitch, and just go backward and just fasten on. And it says to do this is that we need to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Notice how I just left the straggler down like this. Well, in the next 2 chains here that we have here is that we have to treble, and what I want to do is that I want to leave this down on top so it gets stuck underneath. Okay, so we treble once into the next 2 chains. Once you have these 2 done, you are going to slip stitch to the beginning here. So let me just take a look at the instructions and see exactly where to go. So what we need to do is that we need to do a slip stitch into the top of the chain 4 in the next section. So in this particular round, what we're doing is that we're filling in the spaces in the diagonal section, but we're also filling it up in the ends as well. So you will notice on the Afghan that these ones that are on the actual kind of appears to be a corner, they're all in the same direction. So how we do the next part is that we chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we treble into the next 2 that match underneath. So these are kind of the new corners of your Afghan that's going to be starting. So you do 1 treble into each. Then once you have that done, you chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and slip stitch it to the top of the chain 4 right underneath. Okay, so do you see that? So this one isn't, so you have to look at it as if that this is a corner of the Afghan. So let's carry on. We are going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then here's the chain. So then the next 2 chains are going to get 1 treble into each. That was a double, so let me try a treble. So 1 and 2, wrap it twice. The next 2 chains are going to get a treble each. And then once you have that done, slip stitch it to the top of the next chain 4 over here. Okay, this is your next corner of your Afghan, so it has to match and look the same. So you see how it's going up like this. So to do that, chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then treble into the next 2. just like that. Then chain 4 and come back down. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Come back down to the top of the chain 4 here, and now we're moving along. So we're in the diagonal again, so we're gonna chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, the next 2 chains are 1 treble each. Like so. Then just slip stitch it to the next top of chain 4. This is the next corner of your afghan, so it's gonna go straight up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, treble into the next 2. And then 1, 2, 3 and 4. Come back down to the next one, chain 4, space and slip stitch. Don't go into a space, make sure you are going into the chain. It will keep everything better in balance. So let's carry on. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, we're coming along the side here, so the next 2 chains are going to get a treble each. So you have to wrap the hook twice. I seem to be having a problem with this one. The tension off camera is a little bit tight on my hand that's leading the yarn in, and so it's causing me a little bit of problems. Okay, so you did that, slip stitch it to the top of the next one, and here is your final. So this is the final kind of corner, and we chain up 3 or chain up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, treble into the next 2. And to finish this one off, we chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and just join it to this where the first one is, because that's the top of the chain 4 there. So off camera I'm going to weave in my ends nicely, but this is where you'll trim your yarn. Let me just quickly trim and show you exactly what I've done. Okay, this is what it looks like at this point here. So you can see outward here, this is the corner, this is the corner here, and the ones in the center will appear to be on their sides. Okay, and that's exactly what we're seeing. So because we have buried in our strings as we've gone along, we can safely trim those out without worry of those falling out. Whoa, I almost trimmed a string I shouldn't have. Woo, don't do that. And so basically let's move on to round number 4. So let's begin round number 4. So round number 4 all the way up into oblivion is always going to be the same. Okay, the only difference that's going to change is the amount of these diagonals that are in between the corners of your afghan. So the corners are always leading out this, it'll always go straight out in appearance, and so basically it's just a matter of how you look at it, I guess. So what you're going to do at this point is that this is where we fastened off, so we want to go back along that same string and catch the top of the chain 4, just like there. Okay, I'm not worried about that straggler that just popped, it's all good. So I want to join on my yarn just like so, and then chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4. And so we're now starting in between the corners, so these ones are all appear to go diagonally in the same direction. Okay, so they'll all be leaning towards this hand here. Okay, and then the corners will also go out straight, and then the other ones appear to be going downward in a different direction. So let's begin. We're going to treble into the next 2 chains, which is that chain 4, the last chain 4 that we had in the last round. So you can change the colors as often as you wish. Once you have your 2 in there, because you're in between the corners, you're just simply going to slip stitch to the top of the chain 3, just like so, and then you begin again. So chain 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So this time you're going into the tops of these trebles. So do you see the difference this time? You actually have tops of trebles leaning on their diagonal, where you only had the chain in the last round. So these chains are only appearing the one right after the corner. Okay, so you put 1 treble into each of the trebles there, and then you slip stitch to the top of the chain 4. Now this one here is a corner, so then we chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We match the next 2 with a treble each. Okay, so once we have this done, we have to get back down to that spot here, so we do that by chaining 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Slip stitch it down to the top of the chain 4, and then begin working on diagonal, then going across this side. So to do that, chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This one here is working within the chain, so the next 2 chains are a treble each. I've been using really big hooks off camera for other samples, so going down to a smaller hook always adds a little more challenge. I had to be more refined with my rotations of my hook. Once you have those 3 in, we just join it to the top of the next chain 4 and begin again. So chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. These next 2 trebles are 1 treble each. Like so, and then once you get that done, just join it to the top of the next chain 4. Now this one here is a corner, so let's chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, let's treble into the next 2. So the only difference on these corners is that you have to chain 4 and come back down. Okay, so chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4, coming back down to the top of the chain 4. And then we turn the afghan. Okay, let's do another side. So chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So treble into the next 2 chains. I wondered about trebling into the space. I tried it, it doesn't look as good. So make sure you get into your chains, and then once you have that done, slip stitch to the top of the next chain 4, and then chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, treble into the next 2. Treble into, okay, and then just join it to the top of the chain 3, and again we're now on another corner. So the only difference between all of these ideas is that the corners get further and further apart from each other, making it more interesting. You can actually see that there's a lot of space, just like so, but it's actually kind of a really neat idea, and your afghan will grow relatively quickly. So just continue just doing what you do. Remember, every time you go to start a round, you're always going to start off with the one just right before the corner, or right after the corner. So this is where you'll finish doing a corner, and the next one will always start right after and then finish on the corner. So I guess that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed this afghan. This is a really neat one, and until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of Yarn Inspirations as well as thecrochetcrowd.com. We'll see you.